What's going on, YouTube and Gen X? All right. When we talk about the insecurities within Black women, um, to be fair, as men, we understand that there are insecurities that are universal within all women, and we're not speaking about those insecurities. And to also be fair, we understand that no one's perfect. So even Black men have insecurities that all men have, and Black men have a special set of insecurities that are unique to our group and our group alone. Okay, so it's not about um, you know Black men being in a state of perfection while Black women are struggling to keep it together. No one is trying to come on and move the conversation towards that area. Uh, but what makes Black female insecurity hard to deal with? Uh, you have the women constantly running to the same sources of media that are putting them down, right? They're going to continue to follow um, this artist or that actor or that athlete, or watch this special and that special that's pretty much indirectly and even sometimes directly putting them down. So what can you do? It's like the bully keeps on beating you up and you're trying to help somebody out and you realize that they're running to the bully every day. Like, why are you going to him? You should be trying to avoid him. What do you want me to do if you continuously go after him or put yourself in close proximity to him, right? The first thing I'm going to tell you is, hey, you should get away. Stay away from him or her and get out of their area so, you can lessen the odds of him or her trying to hurt you. Uh, but what also makes it hard to deal with is based off of the form that the insecurity takes place. I don't know if you guys, are as much as of a Rocky fan that I am. Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was whatever. That's the one with Tommy Guns. That was whatever to me. And then Rocky Balboa, which came out '06 or something like that, was good. It was a decent wrap up to uh, the little 5-part movie. And I say 5 because I don't really count Rocky 5 and Rocky Balboa, which is Rocky 6, but they didn't call it Rocky 6. Should have been Rocky 5. Just had to put that out there. But I love the movie series because it pretty much was a great story that talked about man's internal and external conflict. And that's why I love it. It was about him dealing with his own personal battles and him going up against the environment. Some other guy who was more tougher, more in your face, and he had to dig deep down inside and figure out if he was man enough. Right? So I love it, especially Rocky 4. Um, but I also love the little subtle stories uh, that went along with all the movies. Uh, Now, he met his wife. I think her name was Adrian. I know the son was Adrian. I think her name was Adrian. Rocky met her, and she was working at the pet store. And she had low self-esteem, right? Why? Well, because her brother was putting her down, and he was the crazy drunk guy that lost Rocky's money in Rocky 5. He would constantly put her down. You're not good enough, this, that, and the third, and he would treat her like shit, right? He didn't like his life, so he made sure to put her down. Uh, so, her self-esteem was shot, and you saw it, how she dressed with the glasses, and you saw her grow and develop. Who she was in Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 was not how she was in Rocky 1 and in parts of Rocky 2. Um, and what Rocky did was, like, tell her, I like you, and she's like, why? You can have all these other girls. Why do you want me? I'm a 6, I'm a 7, why do you want me when you can have the 8s and the 9s and the 10s, especially, after, you're a boxer and you're winning fights now, like, why do you want me? You're the bad guy, you're the bad boy. Because before he started boxing, he was a muscle man, right? I think he was like a debt collector, for his little, mob boss or whatever he was. Like, well, so why do you want me? Why are you going after me? And he was telling her, I like you. I'm a simple, ordinary man. I'm not trying to be this Superman. And um, I like you because you match who I am as a person. Right? And they have that scene where he kisses her in the pet shop and whatnot. Um, and he built her up. Okay. Um, he knew she was insecure, and he did everything in his power to make her feel good about herself. And it worked. And she was the one that helped him out in Rocky 3 when Mr. T, was owning his ass. She's the one that broke him down on the beach after Apollo Creed was, whipping him up when they were doing their little sprints on the sand. Uh, and I use that story because oftentimes when we're talking about black female insecurities, we want to compare it. Black women want to compare themselves to Adrian, okay, in regards to the women who, they have the low self-esteem, and it's up to black men to come through and be that Rocky and build them up and let them know how good they are. And I agree, but that's not the form that black female insecurity is taking, at least for Southern California black life. I don't want to come on and, reach too far, but in Southern California, that's not what you have. You have the opposite. You have the women who are insecure, and because they're insecure, they take on a form that is greater than who they are. So it's not about trying to build them up. They think that they're too high, so they're looking down upon you. See what I'm talking about? So I can't really build them up in terms of, you're not unattractive, you're beautiful, you have a lot going on for yourself. Brothers can't do that. The women say that that's what we as black men need to do, but we can't really do that because that's not the form of your insecurity. The form of your insecurity is that I'm the shit. And going back to what brothers have said before about the whole state of perfection, in every argument, it's always something that black men aren't doing, right? When the women are feeling their complaints, it's about, we're in a level of perfection, my age, my weight, this, that, and the third, none of that matters, and I have to somehow take a step back because black men can't catch up with me. And that's the state of perfection that we're talking about. See, the women will come on and talk about insecurities, but outside of talking about insecurities directly, and we're talking about other issues, you see it. You see the spirit of perfection. So how do you deal with that? You can't deal with it. That's why brothers is like, yo, what can we do? What can we say? Because it's not about building y'all up. Y'all say we're tearing you down, and quite frankly, you're right. Because you built up this image of what you are not. I think in life it's important to understand who you are in terms of your strengths and your weaknesses. And I think I gravitate towards people who know who they are. So I gravitate towards people who, if she may be a 7 in the looks department, but she knows she's a 7, I gravitate towards that because she's comfortable with what she is. It's not about having low self-esteem. It's about her accepting who she is as a person. Okay? So with black women, you have a lot of the 6s and the 7s, maybe even some of the 8s, who are all walking around as if they're 10s and 11s. And in order for us to bring y'all back to ground zero, what do you think we have to do? And this is where the confusion comes into play about black men trying to tear down black women and make black women feel bad about who they are, and belittling them and ridiculing them. But at the end of the day, you have black men who are saying, yo, you are not perfect. You're getting on me because I'm not this superhero, right? But you yourself are not perfect. And if you came down to where you actually are, whether that's a 7, 8, that's irrelevant. But if you came down to who you really are and you accept who you are in terms of your strengths and your weaknesses, we can deal with each other a whole lot better. And you'll be more confident in who you are, and you'll get a better response from the men and, whoever else you were involved with. And it's hard because most of the time when you're dealing with insecurity, yeah, you're dealing with people who think lowly of themselves. So you have to build them up. No, you're not. You're better than that. You're smart. You're intelligent. You have a lot going on for yourself. You're very smart. You're building them up because if they're a 7 or an 8, they're acting as if they're a 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever. So yeah, you need to build them up. But in terms of black female insecurity, like I said before, you got chicks who think they're 11 and 12. They're too bold and too bad. So what can you do? And they're telling brothers, you need to step your game up. And it's like, yo, sweetie, I know who I am. Okay, I know what I am. I know what I'm not. Right? And I know that I'll never be perfect. I know I'm never going to be, the 10 or whatever, based off of, however you want to judge me. But at the end of the day, you yourself are not that perfect 10. Right? And it's painful. You're walking around and, you're doing the whole Southern Cali thing, and you're seeing time after time women that are cool. And the black woman will come on and talk about how black men don't go after, the average, ordinary sort of black woman. She's invisible. They don't want the 7s or the 8s or whatever. I don't, some people have their rubric a certain way. And we're like, you're not being chosen not because you're a 7 or an 8, but because you haven't accepted that fact about yourself. So you haven't accepted who you are. How can you accept me? If you're average and I'm average, and you haven't accepted the fact that you're average, how can you accept the fact that I'm average? Now, I don't say average in a bad way. But yeah, what can you do? What can I say? What can I do? And you'll have brothers that will come on and talk about why they get along with other groups of women, because it's easier to deal with somebody who accepts where they're at. I talk to a lot of brothers who may be dating interracially, primarily dating. And you'll ask them, why'd you choose her? What was going on? What made her so special? And quite frankly, you never really hear it's because of her hair, her skin color, she's a freak in the bed. And I'm not talking about the ones who are, fucking interracial. I'm talking about the ones who are actually in relationships, all right? And they'll come on and say that, oh man, she's cool, she's down to earth. And if you translate what that means, they're pretty much saying, I'm with Keisha, or excuse me, I'm with Debbie, who's a 7. Now, I'm not with Keisha, who may be a 7 or an 8, because Keisha thinks that she's a 10, right? And she's arrogant and conceited, and she low-key looks down upon me, whereas Debbie's a 7, and she knows she's a 7, and she accepts who she is, so she can accept the fact that I'm not a superhero either. It doesn't mean that, people can't work on their flaws and that people shouldn't try to improve themselves, but she knows where she is. She knows that she's not going to be this video chick, or that, she's going to be this some superstar sex symbol that men are drooling over. But Keisha, she thinks that she's a 10, and she's looking down upon me, and, she wants to keep me off to the side and put me on the bench because she feels like she can do better. And so that's the problem. That's the problem. I want to end it here. I'm late, but I wanted to get this video off before I bounce. So y'all think about it, and let me know what you have to say and your take on it, and we can just move on from there. Y'all take it easy. God bless.